Don't Hide the Scars, a weekly podcast focused on addiction and recovery. Created by the nonprofit PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, and founded by Flindt Andersen.
Tim Lodgen, thank you for joining myself, Jason LaChance, and founder of Parents and Addicts in Need, Flindt Andersen, on the Don't Hide the Scars podcast.
Hey, Tim.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, did you ever think you'd become such an advocate of sobriety?
I never thought I'd be sober, much less become an advocate of sobriety. What an amazing journey, my friend. The gifts just keep on giving, and I'm so grateful to have this chance. You know, my addiction affected everyone around me, and I want my recovery to do the same.
Yeah.
Great way to put it, Tim. You bet.
So at what point, to kind of give people just some relevance, we'll give the short version of it. Did substances really come into your life? And through your process, because you've done rehab, you went and did inpatient, you are a 12-step guy, much like myself. What in any of the unraveling have you found that you think led you towards substance abuse?
Childhood trauma. I definitely started to realize that, my father leaving at such an early age affected me when I didn't think it did. Mm-hmm. You know, him and my mom got a divorce when I was 6 or 7. I was in first grade. And, I remember thinking it was my fault. I remember thinking I'm the reason they got a divorce, because I have a brother who's 10, almost 11 years older than me. And I'm like, well, my father stuck around for him. He's almost graduated high school. I'm in first grade. Why is he leaving now? Am I the reason why my father's leaving? Because he just doesn't want to take care of me. And I remember, so many times after he moved out that he would call and be like, I'm coming to pick you up, Timmy. Pack your bags. We're going to go to amusement park, or we'll go do this and go do that. And I'd be sitting at the front door with my bags packed. An hour would go by. 2 hours go by, and my mom would get the phone call from my dad. Hey, let him know I can't come this weekend. I gotta work overtime, or something came up. And after about the dozenth time, I wouldn't even pack my bags anymore, and I wouldn't even sit at the front door, because I was already expecting him never to come and get me.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to think there was something wrong with me. Like, why doesn't my father love me? Why doesn't he want to be around me? And for a very long time, I kind of I pushed that down. And I think I took that and I used that to excel in sports. And I took that drive to try to find myself. I never knew my father's real father. I grew up with my father's stepdad as my grandfather, and he's Japanese. So I always thought, for the first 12, 13 years of my life, that my grandfather was Japanese. Mm-hmm. And come to find out, my father never knew his real father. He's from Germany. He came over to the United States when he was 18 years old. And long story short, my grandmother in World War II met a soldier with my last name, Lodgen. Mm-hmm. And she asked him if she could use his last name and give it to my father.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I found out my real last name is Sauter, from Germany. And I started to look up my family heritage and where I was from. And it's kind of funny because I'm still learning about my family. Just on Sunday, when I celebrated my 46th birthday, my father told me for the very first time that my great-great-grandfather was an inventor in the 1800s and early 1900s. He owned a bunch of businesses. He was a multi-millionaire, and he's still trying to find out what he invented.
Right.
That gave me, I got one of those feelings like I did come from someplace. Sure. My whole life, I've always thought I was different. I always thought I could excel at stuff. Yeah. I was born talented. So everything that I've done, I've always been able to do really good. And I learned really fast, and I was really athletic. And I was always at the top of whatever I did, no matter what sport it was. I was always 1, 2, or 3. Even in the Marine Corps, I graduated as the guide, which is the He leads the entire platoon in front of the squad leaders. I graduated as the company guy. So I was actually in charge of 3 platoons when I graduated. And I never knew where that came from because I never knew my family.
Right.
In high school, I didn't know any of that, and I was lost.
Right.
And I think I turned to drugs and alcohol to try to find something that I didn't know was there. I never knew. That really affected me. I never knew my family. I never knew where. I always wanted to know where my father's father came from and his father, because I wanted to know what I stood for. I wanted to know what was inside of me. Like, did I have great men to follow? Did I have, people that were addicts? Because I didn't know where the addiction part came from in my family.
Mm-hmm.
I was always searching for that. And, my aunts and uncles, they had parties and stuff like that, but it wasn't every single day. It was, a cookout here and there or holiday. And nobody in my family were addicts. I mean, my father was a police officer. My mother was a bodybuilder, and then she became a vice president of a company. I've seen her drink like 5 beers in my entire life. And I never could pinpoint where I got that addictive personality. So I think it was because I was lost. I didn't know my identity as a man, as a boy. And getting sober and learning about myself and why I hated myself.
Mm-hmm.
I truly did. I hated myself and what I had become. And the more I drank and the more I drugged, I thought that would make everything better. In reality, as we know now, the sober we get, it just makes things 10 times worse.
Yeah. No, I can relate to exactly what you're saying. That's the same way that I felt, just to completely disconnected.
I got a question for you, Tim. And I hope this isn't too personal, but did you blame your father for not knowing who his father was and his father not knowing who his was?
I never blamed him. I kind of blamed my grandmother a little bit because she never told me. I was just raised as, my grandfather Harold as my grandfather.
Right.
She was a very personal person. So she didn't put her family issues out there. And it wasn't until, I got older into my 30s and 40s that I found out my grandmother was very promiscuous and and she had a lot of boyfriends. And, the more you find out, the older you get about your family. And, but I kind of was always like, why was that hidden from me? Like, because that really did affect me. It truly did. And even on my mom's side, I never knew my mom's real father. I grew up with her stepfather as my grandfather.
Right.
Come to find out, my mom's real father was an alcoholic. He had multiple personality disorder. He molested some of my mother's sisters.
Ooh.
And he died at the age of 55 from alcoholism. I never knew that until the past year or two. Since getting sober, my mom revealed that to me. So maybe that's part of where I got that addictive personality.
Sure.
And, as you know, Jason, I have bipolar disorder.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, maybe that's where I also got my mental illness from, was my mom's side of the family. It's funny how the more sober I get, the more is revealed from my family's lineage. And the more things are starting to make sense to me.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised, top-quality care with programs for detox, inpatient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living, support groups, and more. With 50-plus years of combined experience and sobriety, Flindt, Andersen, and Thelma Gatlin Wilson provide adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, and a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery. To proudly create and sustain a life without addiction, call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
Not in the same context as yours, Tim, but I've definitely learned since I've been working my sobriety, like really working it and talking with my parents, that I think the generations before us, I don't know if it was a lack of emotional maturity, that fear of being ostracized or what it is, but man, there was a lot of fucking skeletons in their closets.
Oh, yeah.
Just hid a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my relatives came from Germany and Poland and Denmark and those places, and they didn't talk about anything. I mean, these people were about as closed-mouthed as they got. But it was also interesting because it was a large family. It was enormously big. And so we were always doing things. And I actually met my great grandfather at one point. I think he finally died when I was like 8 or 9. But so I had that. I knew where everybody came from, and I'd actually met some of these people. But I'll tell you what, to try to get these guys to talk about anything, I mean, great aunts, great uncles, they were just very, very closed-mouthed about a lot of stuff. But I also think it's that generation. It's like the generation of our fathers that that were during World War II and into Korea. These guys just went off and did their jobs. They didn't talk about it. They didn't talk about their PTSD afterwards. They just did their jobs, came home, went to work, and that was pretty much it. And if you got an occasional Saturday to do something with your dad, you were damn lucky. I think that's just the generation.
I agree with you 100%. Absolutely. Men were supposed to be men that go to work. They don't show their emotions. They're supposed to be the head of the household, the strong one. I agree with you 100%.
I mean, I remember one time I must have been 11 or 12. And I don't know, I did something to piss my dad off. And he came in my bedroom and he was just furious. Now, my dad was really not an angry guy, and he never hit, never did any of those things. But he was so mad at what he did that he pounded the top of my dresser, and there were some little miniature horse statues on there. And he hit it so hard that this one horse fell off and broke. And my dad actually wept at that point, because it was something from his father. Okay, that he had given him when he was a little kid. And that was the first time and the last time that I had only seen my dad cry, which I thought was pretty interesting. They just held back those emotions. They just didn't show them.
I'll piggyback off of that. 2 months ago, my daughter had our baby shower, because I just had my second grandson about a week ago.
Good for you.
And it was the first time I had seen my father in almost 4 years.
Wow.
I actually lived on the same street as my father in my 20s. We were 30 houses away, and I saw him 3 times in 3 years. We just never had that father-son relationship. He would always take my brother out to go shooting or go to gun shows or go to movies. He would never call me. So I've dealt with that my entire life. I really have. And the baby shower came up about 2 months ago, and my mom calls me and she's like, "Hey, just so you know, your daughter invited your father to the baby shower. He's going to be there." And I'm like, "Oh shit, man. I haven't seen this guy in 4 years." The last time we talked, I was screaming at him on the phone because he called me a drug addict, alcoholic. And I was like, "You don't know what I've been through. You're the cause of all this. Like, I never want to see you again. To me, you're dead to me." And I hung up the phone. And that was the last thing I said to my father 4 years ago. And the baby shower comes up, and I'm sitting at the table, and I'm filling out. We're playing, baby shower games. I'm filling something out. My mom comes over. She's like, "Your dad's here." And I remember getting, for the first time since being sober, I got the freaking anxiety, hot feeling in my chest. I'm like, "Oh Christ, I gotta go over and say something to him." And it wasn't for him, it was for me. You know what I mean? I had to go over and heal that last wound that I know I've been holding on to in sobriety. So I went over to him and I was like, "Hey, old man, how you doing?" And he looks at me. And he starts to cry, and he hugs me. And he says how proud he is of me. Mm-hmm. And please don't ever let this long of a period between us go again. He said, "Son, I love you, and I've missed you for so long, and I'm really proud of you." And that was the first time I've ever seen my father cry and he's 76. And
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
You know, isn't it just, first of all, that's just wonderful. But the importance of fathers, you know, fathers and sons. Look, I've got two boys, and I really think sons were put on this earth to piss us fathers off. But there's also nothing like that relationship, you know, and I now have that relationship with my boys again. You know, they were young when I got clean, but not really. One was 18, one was 13, you know, so they still saw it all. And it took a number of years, took about 4 years before, you know, we really started to build that relationship again, but now we have it. But going back, you know, the importance of dads in our lives is critical, you know, but it's also a big part of us in recovery to forgive, you know, because there's not a parenting manual out there. There just isn't. I wish there was, but there isn't. So, you know, we all have to keep in mind our fathers were taught by their fathers. Those fathers were taught by their fathers, and back and back and back it goes. And so it comes down to, you know, to us a lot of times is how do we want to change it with our kids, you know? And I think if we just keep pushing forward, hopefully in the next generations, they're just going to get better and better. I mean, I can only hope, you know, but God, to you know, for your dad and you to reunite again, I mean, that's a beautiful thing right there, you know. Absolutely. Because let me tell you something. I lost my dad back in 2008, and even though we had a pretty good relationship, there were things that went undone and unsaid and unfixed, you know, and I'll never get that chance, you know.
Yeah, and to be honest, I was so grateful to be able to look that man in his eyes as a sober man. Mm-hmm. And genuinely be able to look into his eyes, knowing that I was clean and sober. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Tim, I mean, that's not only, you know, Flindt, it's funny you bring up sons piss us off. This is true as we're all sons here, but Tim, you're a girl dad. And, you know, I hope you don't mind sharing, we do have a personal friendship, but you had some work to really do with healing with your kids once you came out of rehab.
I did. You know, I have 3 daughters. My oldest is 24. I have 14 and 11-year-old. And
you got your hands full, man.
Yeah, and they're all pretty. God damn it! So, you know what that is? That's karma from high school.
Yeah,
because I was not a good young man in high school. I had my fun a little bit too much, but you know, me and my oldest daughter saw everything. I mean, I drank and drugs for 27 years, and she's 24, so she saw the best dad, the worst dad, and the devil. I mean, I was a son of a bitch. Thank God I was never physically abusive.
Right.
But I sure as shit was verbally abusive to everybody in my house. And I said the nastiest things to the people I love the most.
Right.
And I can never take those words back. But I can try to repair. And I have fortunately been given that opportunity to do so. You know, I went to rehab and did 32 days, and I come home, and I guess I'm the typical 32 days. I'm like, I went to rehab. You know, when's my daughter going to talk to me? And my wife's like, Tim, you can't erase 27 years in 32 days.
Right.
You know, she's got to see action. She can't just see words. It's great that you went, and it's great that you're sober, and it's great that you're going to meetings and you're reading the books. And you know, you're sharing at meetings. She says, but she needs to see more than just 32 days. Yeah. So I did accept that. It was hard to accept, you know, and then the 2nd month came, 3rd month came, 4th month came, and my daughter lived in my house upstairs, and she would just come in the house and walk right up the steps. She wouldn't look at me. She wouldn't talk to me, you know, and around the 4th month, I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, she still hasn't talked to me. She still doesn't look at me. She's like, Tim, just give it time. Just give it time. You know, time will heal. And you just keep doing what you're doing. Keep going to meetings. Keep staying sober, and things will heal. And the 9th month, I'm just sitting at my house. I think I'm watching TV or something. I don't remember. My phone goes off and it's a text message. And it's from my oldest daughter. And she's like, Dad, I just want you to know how proud I am of you. Mm-hmm. I thank you for giving me the time to heal, because I know you were healing too as well. And I haven't told you this, but I love you and I'm so very proud of you. And I just wanted you to know that. And at that time, and I chalk that up as one of my best gifts of sobriety that sobriety has given me, is the ability to have a relationship with my children again. We talk now once a week. She moved out about 2 months ago.
Okay.
And she's on her own with her boyfriend. And since she's moved out, she's called me once a week to come over and fix an outlet, or put in the air condition, help cut the grass, do stuff that a daughter would call their father, who's a carpenter, to come over and do.
Right.
Where before she wouldn't have asked me to do a damn thing. She would have found somebody else to do it, or just wouldn't have had it done. But that feeling of getting a call from my daughter and her saying, hey, Dad, you have like an hour or two to come over and help us. And then I get there and I do what she asked me to do, regardless if it's something small. And then she hugs me and she gives me a kiss and says she loves me and she's so proud of me. Man, what a gift.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I am truly grateful to be alive, much less to receive the gifts that sobriety keeps giving me. It's truly amazing. You couldn't have told me this in rehab, that I would get my life back like this and then some. I mean, now my buddy Brandon did tell me, the day that he called me after sleeping in my truck for 48 hours, and he calls me and he says, Tim, I promise you, if you get on that plane tonight, you will get back everything you've lost times 10. Just get on the damn plane.
Right.
And I wanted to believe him. I did. I think he was lying, man, because I've gotten back 20, 30 times more than I ever could imagine.
Yeah.
My life of recovery and sobriety, the last 15 months, I think, has been the best of my life since being in high school. I truly believe that.
Well, I'll tell you something, it's going to get even better. All right. I mean, it's look, I don't believe in horse races during recovery, but I've got just a little over 21 years now. But I'll tell you what, in the fifth year, I'll never forget. My sons don't live at home. One lives in LA, one lives here in Fresno. But I remember it was a Saturday morning, and I was kind of in a pissy mood, and probably because I couldn't play golf that morning. And my son doesn't live with us, but he's coming through the garage. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning, and he walks in and he dumps his laundry on the laundry room floor. Now, first of all, I look at him, I go, don't you have a washer and dryer at your house? That not even good morning, right? And he looks at me and he goes, did you use something today? This is 5 years into my recovery. And I look and my shoulders just shrugged, because I said something like, pick your damn clothes up off the floor so mom doesn't have to bend down to pick them up. Right. And he looks at me and he goes, did you use something today? And I just drop my shoulders. I go, no. I go, really? I go, is that what you thought? And he goes, no. He said, but man, your attitude sure acted like it. And my point here is that it takes years sometimes for those memories for our families to start to dissipate, to start to go away. Because like you, Tim, I was verbally abusive. I was that asshole. Okay. And those kinds of things don't leave right away. It takes a long time. And even from the 5th year to the 10th year, I would find myself watching them to see what their responses and the looks were on their face if I were tired or if I came home late from somewhere, and occasionally you get that double take. You get that look when I'm tired, when the right side of my face droops, right? And my wife's, giving the double take, and I'm going, whoa, no, I didn't use anything. Do I need to pee in the cup? That kind of stuff, because it's important to them that you recognize that they're still going through some of this stuff, and they need to be rest assured that you're doing the right thing.
Well, and I think it's one of those important components that when some people have reached out to me, early sobriety is, I always talk about owning your own shit. Like what is your part? Yes, there's the things you did. There's the things that unfortunately a lot of us do have traumas. Some of it, in Flint's case was necessary, going through all those surgeries. You and I, Tim, some of it was evil. It was downright evil, abusive behavior towards children. Right. But we have to kind of go through that process of really the inventory thing. What was my part in this? What did this person play in this? And I think it takes a while for people just to see that we're changing. Like some of my buddies at 3 months in, 4 months in, or whatever, like, dude, you're weird. You're different. It's like, I know. Yeah. Yes, I am. That's a good thing.
Right.
You don't talk as much. I go, because I'm not shit house drunk. What do you want? I don't have to tell you.
My brain is calm. There's not a bunch of voices going off in my head telling me what to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Or that we got to cover something up. We got to cover our ass somewhere. So we're always talking, right? Just to throw people off track. We don't want them coming at this angle, so we're going to take this route to talk about stuff. Oh yeah, we had it mastered pretty good in those days, or so we thought.
So we thought, exactly. We were always the last ones to find out, though.
Exactly.
So Tim, how, when you went into treatment, and thank you for sharing about your mental health struggles, I think it's important for people to know that a lot of folks do succumb to addiction or substance abuse that struggle with mental health. What kind of was that process for you in treatment? Because you were off meds at that when you were using, am I correct?
Yeah. So, at the age of 14, I was diagnosed with bipolar, but my mom wasn't an advocate for using medicine in teenagers. So she was just like, you're just an emotional kid. You're very, you're a go-getter, you like to play sports. It actually helped me playing sports. It helped me in the Marines because I would get in manic modes and I would go, and I wouldn't stop. And I would go until I was the best, and there was no down times. And then when I got back from the Marines and I went through my 3 month of kind of, I'm going to say, decompression from not being in the service anymore, and I fell into that deep depression. As you remember, if you do remember, I found myself with my stepfather's gun in my lap, contemplating taking my own life at the age of 20. And my mother took me back to the doctors. They re-diagnosed me for bipolar 1 manic depressive disorder, and they got me on medicines. And so from the age of 21 all the way up until I went to rehab at the age of 44, I would do the typical addict cycle where I would start medicines. Yep. I wouldn't tell the doctors that I was using drugs or alcohol. So their solution was, well, maybe that medicine isn't working. Let's up the dosage. Well, okay, well, that's not working. Let's add this. Well, those two aren't working. Let's add a third. We really don't know what's going on now. So let's take all your vitals, your blood. Okay, well, those 3 combinations weren't working. So let's try this. And then I would do the typical, I'm feeling good now, so I don't need to take the medicine. So I'd stop taking it. And that was a vicious cycle for 20 plus years, being on, being off, never being honest with my doctors, telling them that I was abusing drugs and alcohol. So it didn't matter what dosage, what mixture they were putting me on. It was never going to work because I had drugs and alcohol in my system. Right. It's not designed to work with drugs and alcohol. Right. So it never was going to work, but I was never open to them telling them that I was drinking every day. I was using drugs. So when I finally, when I had that experience in the airport, Jason, and I'll tell Flindt real quick, my buddy Brandon told me when I get to the airport, call him when I get past security, because he wants to make sure I'm getting on the plane and that I'm not jumping in a cab and leaving and taking off. So I get to the airport and I call him. I say, Brandon, past security. I got about 30, 40 minutes before the plane leaves. And all he says is, I love you. I'm proud of you. You're going to get back everything times 10. And he hangs up the phone. When I go to sit down in the chair waiting for them to board the plane, I get this overwhelming feeling of hope that came over my entire body. It was a feeling that I've never felt before. My whole body got warm and something in my head said, everything is going to be okay. I truly believe that I had that psychic change sitting in that chair in that airport before going to rehab. So when I got to rehab, I was 100% honest with the doctors and the physicians and the psychologists and psychiatrists about my 20-some plus year run of the medicines that I took and the drugs and the alcohol that I took, because I was finally done. I was done, man. I was, after 27 years, I finally was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was ready to be truthful with myself and be truthful with the doctors and to finally close that chapters of my life and start a new one. And the only way I could do that was to be honest with myself and honest with the doctors and get down to the solution, not the problem. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, I'm only on 5 milligrams of my bipolar disorder medicine. And I'm only on 100 milligrams of my antipsychotic medicine, which is the lowest dosages I've ever been on since being on medicine in my 20s. And go figure, it's because it freaking works when you don't have drugs and alcohol in your system.
Tim, that is the biggest fight that I have with parents. Most of the time, parents are always looking for that reason why their kid is using drugs and alcohol to begin with. And, they'll say, well, he's been diagnosed with bipolar. He's been diagnosed with ADHD, ADD, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And the kid's 16. All right. And it's like, mom and dad, sometimes your kid's just a good old fashioned drug addict. Sometimes they just like to get high. Right. I mean, I understand parents not believing that their kids are actually doing this stuff. And I'm not taking away from mental health issues. Believe me, I'm not. But there are so many families out there that want their kid to almost be bipolar because they can't they can't believe, I'm getting all fired up. They can't believe that their kid's actually doing this. So there has to be another excuse or reason behind it, and I'm sorry, a lot of times there's no reason behind it. Gee, mom and dad, maybe you're the reason behind it. Maybe you want your kid to be the starting first baseman on a high school baseball team that's the best in the state of California, and your kid sucks. Okay, and and they're not going to make it. Or maybe you wanted to be first chair violin when the kid actually could care less about playing music. But they're using drugs. That's the reason why they're taking something to make you disappear. But again, the mental health thing, you don't know how many times I've said the same thing you've just said. Until somebody gets clean off of the drugs. I'm not talking about being clean and sober yet. I'm just talking about getting the drugs out of one's system. Then you can be able to determine if there is a mental health issue, lying underneath that. Because then, like you said, Tim, the medicines are going to work as long as they're not using the other crap.
Yeah.
Again, well said. Yeah, you bet.
100%. And I used to be like, why did it take me 27 years to figure that shit out?
Because we just like to get drunk and high.
We like to get high. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's part of my story. That's part of my journey. Mm-hmm. And without going through 27 years of that, I wouldn't have been able to sit here and talk to you on this podcast. Right. I wouldn't be able to have the gratitude that I have today. I would have shit it all away and went right back to drinking and drugging again. Yeah. And 27 years is just my story, where 10 years might be somebody else's, 5 years, 20 years. But 27 years for me is what my hard-headed ass needed to go through to finally get it. And I don't resent that anymore. I actually accept it. And, I kind of thank my higher power that I'm an addict and have mental illness problems, because I look at the world a lot differently now than I ever did. And I'm, it's eye-opening, and it's beautiful. And I get to possibly help somebody
There it is.
that thought maybe they were hopeless, and they were the only one that were possibly going through this, and nobody could know their pain.
Right.
And that is furthest from the truth. Going back to what you said in the beginning, the generational thing, I think it may not be as bad as it was, but people really don't share their feelings.
Right.
They really don't let other people in, and you know, they smile at you when the people that smile the most are hurting the most inside. And the more that we talk, you know, the one more person that we help is one less person that could die from suicide or addiction or mental health. And I'm blessed to be here, and I'm using what my higher power has given me to try to reach as many people as possible. It's just, I finally found my purpose that I was looking for 27 years. And I really truly believe that I was saved to get the message out that we're not alone, and we don't suffer alone, and there's help out there, and we can change our lives. And it's a beautiful thing, man. It really truly is.
Oh, it definitely is. And you know, the other thing is this. I think there's a lot of us that had decades that we were using, and there's only one reasonable explanation why we're still here, is that our higher power had a better use for us. Because, you know, 23 years, Tim, you 27 years of us out there gunning and running and doing it all. Are you kidding me? I mean, we should have been dead a long time ago. So there's a purpose behind all of that. There's a purpose for Jason, and there's a purpose for you and me and everybody else that's maintaining their sobriety. Now, not everybody has to work in recovery, or not everybody is going to work in recovery or pass on their message of sobriety. But I'll tell you what, because I never wanted this on my resume, to be honest with you. You know, I thought I was going to go back to my business, and I was going to do, you know, for that next 7 years after I got clean. This is the last damn thing I wanted to do. But all of a sudden, you know, in the middle of the night, here comes that little soft, quiet voice, you know, that says, I want you to go right. I don't want you to stay where you are. You know, and it's like, oh God, really? Do I think, you know, is this a road I have to go down? And the good Lord's just going, If you want to stay sober, please listen to me this time, right? And okay, it's hard-headed me. This time I'm going to listen. Well, but by the way, this hasn't been easy either, you know. But I tell you what, I'd rather be sitting right here talking to you two guys, all right, and spreading this message out there than doing anything else. That's for damn sure.
Absolutely. Flindt, let's talk about something that you bring up a lot too, that and I see it through you, Tim, is some people confuse their servitude to the sober and recovery communities for their recovery. Yeah. Can you speak on that a little bit? And Tim, was that a struggle for you? Because man, you are out there, like talking about your personality, but you get out there. But I see that it's not, your servitude doesn't, like Flindt, this is a Flintism. We need to start putting these out there, Flintisms. You know, it can't be your servitude can't be your recovery. They're two different things.
Yeah, working in recovery is not one's recovery. You know, that's what I believe. And I am also a firm believer, and I'm just going to say it, Tim, because even though you've got 15 months, if somebody's going to work in recovery, with my treatment center, we have a philosophy that we don't hire anybody that doesn't have 2 years of sobriety under their belts. Now, that's not saying you can't go on and speak at meetings and help people and do those kinds of things. But as far as actually working in treatment somewhere, to me, that's not a good move in the first couple of years, because there's a lot of reasons why. You're still getting your feet wet. You still don't know what road to travel down. What happens if you relapse and you're working in recovery? That could blow somebody else's recovery. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can go wrong there. But it's important that if you've got 3 years, 4 years, 5, 10, whatever it is, and you're working in recovery, for those that are listening, please maintain your own recovery elsewhere. It's just important for us all. I mean, that's just my philosophy on it.
No, I agree with you. It's like building a house with no foundation. Eventually it's going to crumble.
Yeah.
You know, you definitely have to get that foundation base. You definitely have to understand the recovery and sobriety and your traditions and steps and yourself, you know, and I'm learning something every day. I truly am. I really am. And you know, to answer Jason's question, yeah, I'm just doing this to help somebody. I really truly believe, man, that sitting in an airport, something happened to me, and something that told me everything was going to be okay was not from me.
Yeah.
And you know, there have been, I actually stopped using the word coincidence, because since I've been sober, there have been too many things that have happened to me that cannot be coincidence. It's almost like you are here at this time in your life where you're supposed to be, and this is what you are supposed to be doing.
Right.
I still go to my meetings each week. I still speak at my home group, but there's only 30, 40 people in my home group, you know, and I've heard all their stories 10 times, and I know almost what their second and third sentence is going to come out of their mouth.
Right.
And that's great. But how are we going to help people around the world if we're not talking about this, if we're not trying to reach as many people as possible who are suffering with mental illness and addiction?
Right.
If we're not, you know, we all used out loud, so why don't we recover out loud?
Yeah.
Let's make this not a normality, but an acceptance. Like it's okay to have a mental illness. It's okay to have addiction, and it's okay to speak about it. I'm not ashamed of being an addict anymore.
Right. Right.
I really don't. I think it was given to me for a purpose to use to help those who are suffering. And I don't use these podcasts as like, everybody's going to see my face, this, that, and the other.
Right.
I just feel as if I have so much to say about it, and I'm passionate about it. I don't write shit down. I don't make stuff up. I tell it how it is. And the truthful feelings that I feel about being in recovery and sobriety, I can't hold in, man. I gotta tell people about it. And yeah, it does make me feel better to speak. I mean, this is like having a little miniature meeting. Absolutely. Right. You know, when two or more gather, it's a meeting.
Right.
So these do help get more things out. And every time I do speak, I do remember something else that I may have forgotten. This isn't anything that's going to keep me sober. This isn't anything that's going to keep me on the path of recovery. Me going to my meetings, me talking to my sponsor, me reading about the 12 steps, the 12 traditions, me actively working my program of recovery, not sobriety, of recovery, because anybody can be sober and be miserable. Right. I truly believe working the life of recovery, finding out about yourself, finding out why you know, as we know, alcohol and drugs are a byproduct of something else that is going on in your life. Loving yourself again.
Yeah.
I truly love myself for the first time since being a kid. I can look at myself in the mirror and be proud of the person that stares back at me.
Right.
And I want others to know that they can also do the same thing.
Yeah. Because I'll tell you what, that was an ugly feeling for me, you know, in my using days, when I'd be in front of that mirror, you know, and literally being in front of that mirror and that face looking back, just going, oh God, you lying son of a bitch, you know, look who you are, look at what you've done. But there was that little voice inside of me going, you know, again, it was my higher power going, this is not who I created. This is, that was a constant reminder. This is not who I created. And even though I took it on for 21 years or 23 years, whatever the hell it was, it was, that voice was always there. But, Tim, you said something earlier that was so important. And that was about what your wife said about with your daughter, and that she's going to want to see some action, and I can just relate it today to what I do. And again, I'm like you. This isn't for my face to be out there in the public eye and all that. For my own edification, this is for recovery. This is getting the message out there. But because of And I will own this, and I'm proud of this because of my actions, and I think you should be too, and Jason, you too, and everybody else that's out there in recovery. Be proud of the good actions that you have taken since that first day you walked into a rehab. It is you wear that with a badge of honor, and as time goes on, the people around you, people you don't even know, people will come out of the woodwork. I had a guy come in today that obviously I can't mention any names. I haven't seen this guy since college, but he heard about what I was doing because there's a family member that needed my help. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So, and again, that's not arrogance. It's not prideful. It's not, look at me. No, that's the outcome of the work that I have put in. That's going to be the outcomes for you guys of the work that you put in to this. And as long as you maintain that sobriety over the years, you're going to have people crawling out of the fucking woodwork, okay, to search you out to go, hey man, can you answer this question for me? Seriously. And it doesn't get any better than that. A lot of people will go, everybody's just doing this to be heard. Well, yeah, I am doing it to be heard because I want to help the next person and the next person down the line. So what if I keep my mouth shut and then nobody's going to hear me and nobody's going to hear the message? That's the way you got to look at it. At least that's, again, my opinion.
Yeah. How the hell are we going to connect?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll share something with you real quick that's been one of the coolest messages I have gotten from doing a podcast. About 2 months ago, I did a Instagram live with a gentleman who's in recovery. He's in the sober app. He owns Inspire to Inspire. It's a nonprofit organization. His name's Mike Fiore, and we did an IG live, and we were just randomly going over things about recovery, and we got to the topic of when I gave up hope. And, I took those 18 Percocets and I drank a 12-pack of beer and I prayed not to wake up. Yeah. And I woke up that next morning, and then we talked about, which I'll share with Flindt real quick, the day that that Brandon called me and I went home to take a shower and eat something and pack my bags for recovery, that, my addiction tried one last time to tell me that I wasn't good enough and I shouldn't go to recovery. And he grabbed me by my hand and took me in the basement and put a rope around my neck and stood me up on a bucket and told me to jump off. And my wife luckily came down and saw me in the corner of the basement in the dark and told me everything was going to be okay and to get on that plane. And I did. So we were doing this live IG and it was about an hour long, and then we get off, and like 20 minutes goes by, and I get this message, and I couldn't pronounce his name. The guy's from Switzerland. It was a crazy name. I couldn't pronounce it, but he's like, "I don't mean to bother you, but I just wanted to send you this message." He said, "My family is in the Ukraine right now, getting bombed. They've been there for 2 weeks, and we can't get them out. I've lost all hope that they're going to survive." He said, and for some reason, I just happened to be on Instagram and your live popped up and I tuned in right at the exact moment that you were talking about, never to give up hope, that things can always change as long as you don't give up hope. He's like, I hung up the IG got off and I hung up and I looked at my wife and I said, we can't give up. We can't give up. We got to try to get them out. He's like, and I just want you to know that without those words of not giving up hope, we were about to throw in the towel. I was like, wow. 3 weeks later, I get another message from him, and it was a voice message. And he said, Tim, I had to get you to tell you that we got my family members out of the Ukraine.
Beautiful.
They're safe and sound. He's like, my wife kept telling me we can't do it, we can't do it. And he goes, and the only thing I kept hearing in my voice was your head saying, don't give up hope. And he said, and I would yell at her, we can't give up hope, we can't give up hope. He goes, and we got him home a couple of days ago. He's like, I really wish you were here in Switzerland so I could give you a big hug and a kiss. He said, because you truly helped us through the darkest time of my life.
Isn't that amazing?
What an amazing message to receive from across the country.
You bet.
That, you know, and that falls under that coincidence thing. It wasn't a coincidence that he just happened to open Instagram Live,
right,
and happened to turn on at that exact moment that I was talking about not giving up hope. Right. He was meant to hear that message at that time for him and his family to get through that. I can't explain that type of things that are happening.
Yeah, but Tim, first of all, amazing story. That's beautiful. But also, I want you to think about this. That's amazing for you. Okay, it was amazing for him that he got his family out of there. But brother, take pride in the fact that, yeah, it was your voice that he heard. You were put there for a reason. There are no coincidences in this. All right. I love that fact, but I also want to say this. I don't know your wife. Okay. I've never met her. You've never met mine. I've been married to the same woman it'll be 43 years in July, and I shouldn't be. Okay. You gotta love, right? You gotta love another podcast. That's a whole nother podcast, because we're going to come back and do that one. All right. Because I'll tell you what, these women are talk about amazing, and angels, and you know, your wife found you in the basement. Mine saw me in the corner of one of my kids' rooms, sitting there in my underwear with a Glock sitting next to me. Okay. You know, I mean, for these women to have lived through what they lived through with us, and to still be with us, and to give us that strength, I'm telling you right now, they're saints. They are absolute saints in this. And I was telling somebody last Friday night, we were at a function, and there was some other ladies at the table, and they were kind of asking about me and what I did, and my wife was filling them in, and these women looked at my wife and go, God, you are a saint, you know. and I looked at these women, because I just kept my mouth shut during the whole thing. And I finally looked over at these women and I said, yeah, she is. You know, I mean, I don't know where I'd be without my wife. You guys either, by the way.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Tim, do you have any final words you'd like to leave the listener with?
I just want everybody to know that you know, you're not alone if you're dealing with mental health or addiction. You know, you're not alone with the pain you think you're suffering. You're not alone with family trauma. Everybody has a past. Everybody has a story to tell. Their help is out there if you truly want to get it. And I'm going to say truly want to get it, because it doesn't matter if your family wants you to get it, if your school wants you to get it, if the courts want you to get it, you have to want to get it. I can't drive you to the rehab and push you through the front doors if you don't want it. You're the one that has to want to go through those front doors. And when you go through those front doors, you know, it's not the gates of heaven letting you in. It's the gates of hell letting you out.
Yeah. And
you become a new person and you live a new life. And it is more amazing than I ever could have imagined. Sobriety and recovery has made me a new husband, son, friend, and father, a better person than I ever thought I could ever be. And I'm truly grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be asked to do this podcast and speak the messages. And I just want people, please don't give up hope. Don't give up hope, because help is out there, and you can live the life your higher power always had waiting for you.
Absolutely.
Flindt, you got anything else you want to wrap us up with?
You know what, Tim? Thank you so much for this. It's an absolute pleasure meeting you. I'm seriously, man, I want to do another one of these and talk about our wives. All right. Because these women, they deserve all the credit, in my book. That's for damn sure. For these women, right? For these women to put up with our asses for all that time is just amazing. But listen, my friend, I'm proud of you. Okay, you've got 15 months under your belt, man. You just keep going, because you're gonna get more and more and more out of this than you would ever think, and it's gonna keep on coming, buddy. But like us and like me, no matter how much time you have or how little time you have, it's still one day at a time.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call Parents and Addicts in Need at 559-579-1551 or check us out online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media at Pain Nonprofit. Please subscribe to the podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. To donate, please click the link in the description and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
This podcast contains the views and opinions of hosts and their guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only. And because each person is sharing their unique perspective, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast and website are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Privacy is of the utmost importance to us. For those wishing anonymity, people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect confidentiality at the request of certain guests. This website or podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. If you find any errors in any of the content of this podcast or blogs, please send a message through the contact page.